Great Debaters Contest is brought to you by Safaricom M-Pesa. The Great Debaters Contest 2016 registration is now open. Teachers or school administrations should register on www.greatdebaterscontest.com/register.
As you may all know that we always bring it on when it comes to debate. This is the Great Debaters Contest, Macha edition. I'm Austin Yombok.
And I'm Mariam Bashar. Welcome to the show. Today, ABC Kathithyamaa goes versus Matunguli girls, and they're debating on whether agriculture should occupy a central place in Africa's development agenda. Let's give the debaters time to deal with these food matters now. Proposer number 1, you have 3 minutes.
Agriculture is the science, art, or occupation concerned with cultivating land, raising crops, and feeding, breeding, and raising livestock. You know, when I look at my fellow opponents, they're wearing green. Green is for agriculture. They're all also wearing brown shoes. Brown is the color of soil. So I think that they should cross over and join us in the campaign for agriculture. The World Bank and Agriculture Africa said that agriculture is essential for sub-Saharan Africa's growth and for achieving the Millennium Goal, Development Goal by halving poverty by 2030. They also proceeded to tell us that agriculture employs 65% of Africa's labor force and accounts for 32% of gross domestic product. This tells us that we really need agriculture in our systems. If we are to make progress, we really need agriculture. Because when I look at most of you, I know that some of you, your school fees comes from agriculture. I know that most of you generate income daily from agriculture. Look at Mama Boga in the market. She's earning money from agriculture. Look at that young youth outside there selling livestock. That's agriculture. When you also look at 60% of Africa's land, it's arable. And only 10% of produce comes from Africa. Yet worldwide, it's 40%. Look at all that untapped potential. If only our governments could invest in agriculture, then progress could be in Africa. We really need to take agriculture as the center of development. When you look at China, China is a developed country. China is really a developed country. And China is where it is today because of a man named Mao. During Mao's dynasty, that is during the revolution, Mao is praised by renowned political critics as the man who accidentally starved half of China's population to make them realize that they don't need their herbal teas and chopsticks to make a change in their economy. So, I'm really asking you, my fellow opponents, if not agriculture, what is going to bring that development in Africa? Thank you.
Opposition, you have 3 minutes for your opening statements.
Julie Mutinda, Matunguli girls, opposing the motion that states that agriculture should be given a central place in Africa's developing agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, my heart bleeds because I have come to realize that my thoughts were actually assumptions. I used to think that the power of having a fully developed brain should distinguish us from primitive man who could not think beyond agriculture. Agriculture is a wastage of time. Agriculture is the crippling down of man's ability to come up with new ways of making Africa and the world at large a better place. Agriculture is the excuse for a wasted brain and an about to be wasted brain. And to my first point, environmental pollution. We're using fertilizers and pesticides on our plants. This is leaching our soils. That soil will be deposited into our water catchments. What about our aquatic organisms? What about our health? Because we're using this water for our basic needs. Endangering of Species Act. How do you define a 4-kilogram chicken produced after 2 months? You're killing Africans with chemicals in the name of agriculture. I have to quote President Barack Obama's speech during the Global Entrepreneurship Summit. He said that technology and industrialization is slowly crippling into the global limelight. And therefore, Africans should embrace, suit, and empower these structures. We're 52 years old as a country. And this is as an example. Since and before we got our independence, we've been practicing agriculture. Where are we? We're still lagging behind because of agriculture. Therefore, dear proposers, I advise that you cross your lines. Let us support the fact that agriculture is actually bringing harm. Agriculture is spoiling our brains. Agriculture is wasting our time. If everyone in Africa acquired the most spiteful attitude towards agriculture, then maybe we will stop lagging behind as a continent. Maybe we will go further than where we are right now. As a country, also as an example, we're looking forward to Vision 2030, but with agriculture, I'm afraid we're going nowhere. So please, let us cross our lines. Thank you.
We'll hear rebuttals now. You have 3 minutes.
I'm Salim Ramadan from ABC Kathithyamaa Secondary School, here to propose the motion that agriculture should be given a prominent place in Africa's development. Actually, are these African ladies? Are they real African ladies? Do they know what they're talking about when they say agriculture should not be given a prominent place? No, I think they are not. A real African lady always supports agriculture. If you had access to the book of Margaret Agola, the river and the source, I'm sorry about that. The lady, the antagonist in that book, Akoko. Look how it did changes from her homeland, where she was, to Mission of Alua. You will learn that she carried herself, she went into that place with the same manner of agriculture. And what did she do there? Just prosperity in agriculture. Why am I saying that agriculture should be given a prominent place in Africa's development? Let's talk of employment. Employment, where is it coming from? The Africans, the population, high population in the rural areas, that's the youth. They lack employment. Employment it is in the agriculture. For example, take a company that is producing flowers, cocoa, coffee. How many people are employed there to do packaging, transportation, all those? That creates employment. And this leads me to my first point, to the point of my friend here, which said that agriculture employs 65% of Africa's labor force and accounts for 32% of gross domestic product. This means that if it does this by doing 65%, what if our government, our Africa's government, engage just to give agriculture a prominent place, the first in Africa's development agendas? What will happen? We shall prosper. We shall boost our economy by a double digit, as our President Uhuru Kenyatta and his runmate Ruto William, what they just said about. I think that's what we should do. My second point is only talks about the fertilizer that we use. They come from this industrialized, you talk about industrialization. Let me just pause the motion a little bit and say, we Africans we are intimidates. We just like to follow what the British is doing, what the European countries are doing. We copy from them. Why should we copy? Why should we copy? While we have every potential, each and every potential to venture and to prosper in our economy. One Theodore Roosevelt said, do what you can with what you have where you are. Thank you.
Opposition, you have 3 minutes for your rebuttal.
African ladies, yes, we are African ladies. We ought to grow and make Africa grow, not only through agriculture, but development, technology. Atieno and Matunguli girls. My first point. As they say, repetition brings momentum. But are we going to repeat that agriculture is the backbone of the economy of Africa? Till when? In the UK, a 14-year-old boy can create an antivirus, which is going to add income or which is going to add money to the country. Whereas here in Africa, you find that a 30-year-old woman depends on a 15-bag harvest and a 20-liter product of the livestock. Is that where we're going to? Statistics says that 80% of the countries we're talking about, the developed countries, don't really rely on agriculture. If innovation is the song they're singing, Bill Gates, the one who invented the computers, the richest man in the world, is not singing to the song of agriculture, but dancing to the moves of innovation. Our education, teachers are striking, our nurses are not being paid. Students are joining universities from the Western countries. This is simply because we can't support our teachers, our professors in Africa to educate them. We're not providing quality resources for them to learn here in our continent. Minerals are unused, they are untouched, and they are also not being taken care of. Come to think of the gold in South Africa, the oil in Libya and Nigeria, copper in Zambia and Uganda, all in the name of agriculture, whereas America are uncovering their uranium and Asia is drilling oil. Is that what you call agriculture? We're not going to support agriculture being given priority in Africa, and yet we can look at more things that can make us move to the next step as Africans. Thank you.
The Great Debaters Contest 2016 registration is now open. Teachers or school administrations should register on www.greatdebaterscontest.com/register. The Great Debaters Contest 2016 registration is now open. Teachers or school administrations should register on www.greatdebaterscontest.com/register.
Thank you, audience, for those questions. The proposition have been asked how they can explain the phenomenon of Arabic countries being very developed, yet they do not rely on agriculture. And the opposition have been asked, if not agriculture, what then should be central to Africa's development agenda? We'll have them respond to the questions. Third proposer, you have 3 minutes.
My name is Constance from ABC Kathithyamaa Secondary School. Greatly proposing the motion that agriculture should occupy a prominent place in Africa's development agenda. I will first start by answering a question. The arable land that we have talked about rely on oil, for example, because oil there is readily available. And for us as Africans, we need to rely on agriculture. This is because there is availability of land, labor, and even methods which we can use to improve our agriculture. Agriculture provides raw materials for industries. For example, take Del Monte Company, agriculture has provided fruits, has provided raw materials for these industries. And the country is developing because of agriculture. Take, for example, EPZ. Everyone is wearing clothes, fabrics, which comes from agriculture. My fellow opponents, when we talk about agriculture, we don't only talk about land. We also talk about animals. Okay? Talk about Kenya Meat Commission, which deals with meat, comes from agriculture. My fellow opponent here has talked about wastage of time. If not agriculture, which is going to make us develop, what else? If you talk about technology, you can't invent something that you have never known about. Actually, it will consume a lot of time for you. When you sit down and start doing something which you have never practiced. But agriculture, being part of us, being the pinnacle of creation, we have practiced it. Our forefathers have practiced it. So I can't see it is going to consume your time. She has talked about environmental pollution. How? For example, agriculture, planting trees, farming. If you use organic manure, you are not going to pollute the environment. Let's talk of things which we have. Let's not cross boundaries and think of things which we can't have. Theodore Roosevelt said, do what you can with what you have and where you are. We are in Africa. We have land. We know farming. And we have time to farm. So, as you speak about developing agendas, tell us other ways which we can use to develop apart from agriculture. Thank you.
Opposition, you have 3 minutes to respond to the audience.
Odero Mary Grace Akinyi, a true African lady. First, you've asked me that if not agriculture, then what? Anatieno has talked about minerals. Do you mean that you ignore the oil in Nigeria and Libya? Do we ignore the diamonds in Tanzania? The gold in South Africa? Should we ignore that? The copper in Uganda? That is what I call innovation. That is development. That is a strategy. When the proposers have talked about environmental pollution, you have used if. If is a conditional. We are not using if. Our motion states should. Please tell us what we should do, not what we if do. Another thing, we shall not limit ourselves as Africans to the common mama mboga mentality. Just because the mama mboga is selling across the street does not mean that is where our African brains can reach. Just because we do not know so much about innovation does not mean we shall not try it. Success is defined by moving into waters that you do not know how deep they are, swimming in them and emerging. Asia is the richest continent. It does not even have agriculture. Look at Africa. Desertification and aridity is slowly encroaching upon us. If we put down agriculture as a strategic plan in our Vision 2030, according to Kenya, in our Vision 2025, according to the AU, what are we going to do when desertification reaches us? When it covers us? When we cannot move from it? What shall we do when that backbone collapses? Is there another bone which will be strong enough to hold us as Africans? Africa is likened to an 100-year-old lady who still walks the same way 100 years ago, still wears the same clothes as 100 years ago, still speaks the same language as 100 years ago. If our forefathers were to resurrect, do you want to tell me they will find the land as they found it, as they left it? Can't you see that agriculture is not reliable? Till when, fellow Africans, till when shall we sing and dance the song of agriculture? We ignore such resources like our marine fish. Why? Just because we want to stick to the old days, because we do not want to expand our African brains and think outside the continent, think outside that box of agriculture. Shall we not be bound? We gained independence in 1901. The first country in 1901 gained independence, yet us as Africans, we still want to hold ourselves. Another thing, you said that we need agriculture. We do not need agriculture. We just have it. Thank you.
We'll hear closing submissions now. Proposition, you have a minute.
Wow, I'm back again. Again to challenge my African. They're calling themselves real African ladies. Yeah. No, according to me, they are yet to meet the standards. They are yet why? Agriculture is all what lies on them. What have they just taken at the lunch? What have you just taken? Is that not coming from agriculture? And when you think of agriculture, what are you thinking about? Just digging your land? No. The youths out there, they are doing a lot of things that are earning them money. And if the youths engage themselves in various activities, for example, in Dika, we have a group that is relying on pigs, selling of pigs. They are earning capital from that, and that increases per capita income in Africa, or in Kenya particularly. So that means that our economy is going to rise. If per capita increases, definitely that's going to increase our economy. Let's thank you.
Opposition, you have a minute for your final statement.
Let us observe a moment of silence. Today we have buried the mentality that Africa cannot move without agriculture. And we have made time. We have made time to ululate for the birth of innovation, for the birth of industrialization in Africa. There is a saying that goes, God made the world, but German made itself. It built its industries. It empowered its industries. What you have talked about the pigs, that is not agriculture, that is entrepreneurship. We are talking about empowering the youth. And I quote Barack Obama, the President of the United States, when he said that entrepreneurship is the only sure road of African success. We shall follow their examples, we shall fit in those footsteps, and we shall emerge the winners. When shall Africa only be termed when we are talking about the biggest continents? What about the richest continents? We are the richest continents when we move from agriculture. Thank you.
All right, I'll address Matunguli girls. You did a fairly good work because I didn't find the energy that came last when Odero took the stage. Although Julie started off very well, in fact, itemizing some of the things that you think are hindering, should be focused on. But my question was, why did you rubbish agriculture? Why did you say we don't completely and emphatically said we don't need agriculture? I thought that was a very difficult position to hold. Possibly you could have said we need agriculture, but it is not the leading factor. We have other things that we need to focus on apart from agriculture. And I think that is what Odero said at the end. You said, if I quote you, we have agriculture, but we don't need it. And I thought that could have been a safer stand to take.
Kathithyamaa. Kevin, come up with the history, where we are, and the focus in the future. Work on your delivery in terms of style and presentation. Salim Ramadan, fair cross-examination. Your submissions are also fair. Don't say run mate is a run-in mate. Constance, good attempt as well. I think as a team, with practice, you can make a better team the next time as well. Is it? All the best.
ABC Kathithyamaa, the judges awarded you 61%. Please give them a round of applause. Matunguli girls, the judges awarded you with 70%, making you the winners.
Congratulations to the two teams for a very, very spirited debate. We'd like to thank the audience and our viewers back home for watching. Kindly follow us on social media at Great Debaters EA for Twitter and all our other social media platforms. I am Austin Nyambok.
And I am Mariam Bashar. Thank you for watching.
The Great Debaters Contest 2016 registration is now open. Teachers or school administrations should register on www.greatdebaterscontest.com/register. The Great Debaters Contest was brought to you by Safaricom M-Pesa.